Okay, good afternoon, friends, and welcome to this wonderful Air India Pavilion at the Overseas Travel Mart in Mumbai. I am Krishna Kumar from Air India, and today we are going to have a panel discussion on the topic India, the International Narrative 2025-2030, driven by aspirations. So we have a very distinguished panel here today with us, consisting of all industry experts. And let me begin by introducing them. To my extreme right, on the opposite side, we have Ms. Purnima Nerurkar, who has got more than 2.5 decades of experience as a strategic planning team, part of the strategic planning team in Air India. And she is going to be anchoring the discussion today. I do hope you have a bag full of very good questions to get good answers. Yeah. Next to Purnima, we have Rajiv Kale, who is the president and country head for Thomas Cook for leisure and MICE travel. And he is one of the few Indians who has the experience. You can count on your hands the kind of experience and exposure he has in leisure. It's unmatched. Next to Rajiv Kale, we have Mr. Ajay Bali. He is an industry veteran with more than 4 decades of experience. He is for the last 4 decades, he's been handling corporate travel. He is the managing director of BCD Travel, one of the 4 biggest TMCs which is operating in India. So we would like to hear, some strategic initiatives or strategic thinking from your side during the discussion with your experience. And of course, we have Mr. Ayappan, who is the CEO of ClearTrip, and he's also the senior vice president for the Flipkart group. So we can call that he's one of the disruptors in the entire panel. So he's got more than a decade old experience with Flipkart. Then he had a short stint with Myntra, again a brand owned by Flipkart. And then he has subsequently joined for the last 2.5 years as CEO of ClearTrip. So we expect a lot of disruptions in the market because he manages the most iconic brands in India, travel brand ClearTrip as well as Flipkart, which is in the e-commerce space. Next to them, we have Dr. Sanjay Pai. Dr. Sanjay Pai has more than 3 decades of experience in corporate travel. He is from the demand side. So he's been worked more than 2 decades, I think, with Reliance Industries. And now his current position is he is the vice president of corporate travel facilities and also in charge of aviation for the premier organization Larsen & Toubro. He is also, by the way, a doctorate in aviation studies, so we can hear some knowledgeable inputs from Dr. Pai. So I would now request Ms. Purnima Nerurkar to take the discussion forward.
So they say that a picture paints 1,000 words. So here is a picture for you, and we would like to hear the 1,000 words from each of you eminent panelists here today on this topic that we have chosen. Mr. Kale, we can start with you. So the emerging markets of India, where is the international travel originating in India? Who else can tell us better than you?
So, as I said, Bharat badal raha hai. India is changing and Air India is also changing. So, it's a great time to, have all of us talking about the emerging market and, where this market is, growing and coming from. If you look at what is happening in India, I think the metros are changing the metro cities. The roadways, the new ports, I think all this change in the infrastructure giving us the opportunity to tap the 2-tier and the 3-tier markets because they are no more, a non-metro cities. They are in metro by their own, sense. And when we look at, growing our business, I think the tier 2 cities and the tier 3 cities is where we see the growth coming from. From the segment point of view, as you very rightly said, that less than 30% of the population is the Gen Z population. So the whole focus is on Gen Z. We are seeing the increasing demand because they are the ones who are aspiring themselves to, live the life king size. And we know the Zindagi Na Mili Dobara. So after the pandemic, it is becoming the reality. People want to kind of live their life. They want to make their life like experiential. So it is cuisine, it is culture, and all these things are aspiring themselves to travel within India, outside India. So I think it's a Amrit Kal for our industry.
I was just listening to my fellow panelist, and I think he's almost covered the ingredients about India. But a couple of things which I just want to share, and I want to repeat what he says because it's the real fact. The metros are bursting because India was always totally dependent on metros. Came COVID, and the demographics changed. The technology, the internet, it brought a revolution. And Indians really captured that. And if you see, during the COVID, the tier 2 and the tier cities started growing because of the staycation, because of work from home. And people started knowing that we can work even from a tier 2, tier 3 city and the work will go on. So that is the change which happened. The second part is the wealth increase in the tier 2, tier city. Earlier what happened, people used to go from villages and tier 2 to metros to earn livelihood. Now they don't have to go to a metro for livelihood, so they stay back. And they are earning a very good amount of money. So this is where the emergence is happening. People are spreading more across India. And India, of course, is a densely populated, but we had about 6 metros earlier. Today we have got about 20 tier 2, tier 3 cities, which is really taking advantage of that. So I think this is a huge change. Coupled to that is the government policies. And as he mentioned, the infrastructure, the growth in airports, going into tier 2. These are all the ingredients which allow the tier 2, tier 3 to emerge as the hub points. So I would say overall, the economic growth, the change, the technology, and the people's appetite to stay back and enjoy in the tier 2 cities is the reason for demographics.
In your industry and in your business, tier 2, tier 3 cities, I think, are your forte. And probably this is a very, very relevant question to you. So let's hear it from you. What is your thought about what tier 2, tier 3 cities are contributing in the travel industry today?
Firstly, thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure and great privilege to be with such stalwarts in the industry around me. I feel like a beginner, a novice, sitting around with Indian personalities like this. And thanks to the opportunity from Air India as well, the brand is buzzing. I saw in WTM as well and here as well. The brand is going great heights. I think you guys are taking the Indian brand way, way ahead. So kudos to you guys and pleasure to be here. From our perspective, the way we look at it, there is always this 3A. That's what we internally call it as. One is the accessibility. Second is affordability. The third is awareness. For any industry to start hitting it out of the park, these three things need to come together. So accessibility was sort of limited, maybe till a few years back. I think both of them covered very well with respect to the infrastructure that is coming in. Second is with respect to the affordability itself. Earlier, people used to think about, okay, in life, when you look at Maslow's hierarchy, there is this roti, kapda, makan, then you start thinking about travel. But right now, I think the current Gen Z, the way they are looking at life, especially post-COVID, for them, all the three things can wait. It's a travel. In fact, the product constructs like no cost EMI, buy now, pay later, travel now, pay later. It's like life has to be lived right now, right here. So they don't want to wait at all. So that sort of affordability has come in. Whether they really have the money in the wallet or not, they want to spend. So that's the second part. The third is the awareness. What India was lacking a few years back is with respect to what you can do, where can you go. The sort of awareness always used to come in only from, let's say, the Bollywood movies, and then come and educate saying that, you know what, these are the places you can go. But today, the way the social media has disrupted the entire consumerism has been happening in the country, it's massive and it's here to stay. And people don't think about like where to go after deciding the retailer. They are very clear where they want to go, what they want to do, and they in fact have a very clear itinerary in place when they need to travel. And then they come and say that, yeah, you know what, day one I need to do this, day two I need to do this. So that is evolving at a much rapid pace. And in every family, whether it's metro or tier 2, tier 3, it's the kids who are determining where to go and what to do. So that sort of awareness has been created in a big way. So for us, directly to your question, both in e-commerce from Flipkart perspective, both and on the travel side as well for Cleartrip, the tier 2, tier 3, the traffic is more than 70%. The growth that we see is double than what we see in the metros. So that sort of pivotal growth, we've never seen it happening. So there is a huge tailwind that's coming in for the travel industry. There is a second force coming in from the government with respect to the investments. Third is the consumer mentality. What happened in China between 2000 and 2020 is what changed the consumerism for the world. They became a supply hub because the demand happened there. That's exactly what's happening in India today. The demand is coming in. Along with that, the supply is also going to come in. And with players like you who is investing in infrastructure and getting the Indians out, the tier 2, tier 3 will be the single biggest engine for the growth. Yeah.
One is the demand, what's going on and what is that the aspirants people are looking at. So if you see, everything has to move together. It's part of a wheel, you know. Whether it's demand, supply, content, wow factor, services, processes, and in between the engine which works is IT, you know, it's the technology platform or digital transformation, whatever you can call it. But I could see tier 1 city as almost exhausted. Okay, now people are moving to tier 2, 3 or whatever they are terming it also. The airports also, operational airports, which was almost 74, 75, 10 years back, it's moved to 148. But we are far behind of any of our neighboring countries, developed countries. So I think the government, the ministry is also doing good. They are building in the roads, infrastructure and all that things. They are creating jobs in most of the states so people can travel. But if you ask me from the current model, what is the aspiration and where we will reach? If you see the Gen Alpha, which is now supposed to take over from Gen Z or Gen X, those people will be drawing, and the aspirations towards them will be always they are well connected, well informed. So it will be an expectations of inflated things, because the demand will increase in such a way that people will know what they want and what is expected or what is the cost for the money which they spend. So the question is, like my counterparts said, now due to the dual income in the family, if you see the affluent family percentage has increased quite a bit. In fact, from 28 million, it has gone to 60 million. So the purchasing power is increased, so is the demand. So if you ask me from the country perspective, since we are having an advantage of the number of age, and till we plateau in next 2 decades to the population, I think we have an edge which we have to overcome with everyone's support. So basically, from the supply side, from the demand side, and from the bureaucrat side, it has to grow hands in hands. So that's what I expect, and I feel as an organization of Air India, they are doing whatever is required, consolidation and getting into the market.
Thank you, sir, for those valuable words. In fact, yes, just to summarize what we have said, yes, the government is supporting, the country is growing, the disposable incomes are increasing, the growth is coming from the smaller markets, which is really big and to capture and look at. So basically, the aspirational travel is actually coming out of the non-metro cities more than the metro cities. And rightly so, I think the airlines are also trying to target the growth centers of the country. So where does this aspirational journey start? And how is travel industry going to help meet these aspirations?
So this is the most
first-
interesting question for me, because I very strongly believe that travel is not a commodity. Travel for me is an art. Okay, it is the art of cuisine, it's the art of culture and art of experiences. Now when you talk about the food, okay, you see in India there are lots of Oriental restaurants and Chinese restaurants and Italian and so on and so forth are coming up. When you want to actually experience the authentic, food, you have to visit. Like if you want to get the best sushi, it's not in the Oriental restaurant; it is in Japan. You want to have the best burrito, it is not in the Indian restaurant the Italian restaurant over here, but that's back in Milan. So actually, the food is an aspiration which pulls the people to travel and experience the cuisine. When you talk about the culture, you really want to experience what is the Swiss person is all about and what is the Italian guy is all about, or the Mexican or the American or the Japanese to that matter. And that cultural habits, that cultural trails kind of push the people, aspire the people to travel to those countries and experience those cultures. When it is coming to experiences like hot air ballooning, today you can do the hot air ballooning in India also. It's not, something which is, but when you have that experience of hot air ballooning or a zip lining in other parts of the world, especially in Kenya, for example, and when you see the animals, migrating from one bank to the other bank, I think that's a spectacular experience. So when you want to kind of aspire these different experiences, I think you need to travel. And as he very rightly said, the accessibility, the internet, the social media, I think all that is making all these aspirations so live. They are actually, pushing the people to travel and experiencing these things, whether it is a food, whether it is a culture or the experiences. That is all is made the travel make it happen.
Areas of aspirational travel. And so, Mr. Bali, what would you like to add to this? This
Like
is
he said
something.
that he's covered so much. But let me give a little different perspective to this. Aspiration is all about desire, the dreams. And normal Indian, and we are just 75-year country old, because we were governed or ruled by others. We got our independence and we started growing in the last decade or so. So people were earlier busy with, as he rightly said, roti, kapda or makan. When the growth happened in the economy, the disposable income came, the dreams became bigger. Everybody dreamt of travel, they could not afford travel. With this new growth, bringing in more metals, bringing in more destinations, and of course, as he rightly said, the Bollywood, that was the other pick. There is a growing aspiration in the alpha, in the Zen alpha. However, I also believe that people who are retiring and they've got a pension fund and they've earned money, so their aspiration also is there to travel. If you see internationally, if you look at the Americas and the Europe, the people who retire, the best thing they do after retirement is they travel. They travel abroad, they do on the cruise. So the aspiration was always there in Indians, but the affordability came, the growth came, and the technology and the innovation which came. Because today, if I want to know about Switzerland, I don't have to go there to know it. I know it well in advance and I will decide, do I want to go to Switzerland or should I go to Spain? Or should I go to Americas? Now these are the things which has done. So I always say that I have the money now, I have the technology now, I always had the aspiration, now I want to fly. Simple. Thank you.
I think you really hit it on the head, absolutely. And you've introduced another segment of the segment to us, the senior citizens. The retirees, yes. So we need to make products for senior citizens going forward. So, well, yes, as you had in the last question, you had mentioned social media and, access to information becoming one driving force for people to actually make these decisions to travel. Yes, so how is this contributing to the aspirations? Would you like to say something more on that?
I think a lot of very big elements going to cover this question on. So I'll just try to make a different dimension there. A few years back, the reason why anybody would go outside India for travel is maybe there is sort of like you said, culture piece is always there to experience something different. Second, I want to take a vacation. Where can I take my family? Right? Third, medical could be another reason. Education, right? Higher studies and all of that. So these are the broad 3 or 4 buckets why people have to travel outside. Today, if you look at it, because of the exposure, right, the way people are thinking very differently, and they're wired very differently, right? People are saying that I want to go and watch a sport. Just for that reason, I want to go somewhere, right? And I don't want to go to a place where every single Indian has already been. I want to go to a place where nobody has ever been. And then I want to do an Instagram. So right now, the biggest trend is like, what are those Instagrammable places, right? So the Instagram and Instagram is defining where people need to go and what they need to do. So in my social circle, you've been here. You've been to maybe, I don't know, that I'm part of this particular place where nobody has ever been, right? So I think that sort of thinking process is very different. That's why this generation, for them, the aspiration to travel is very different. And it's not exactly the same piece that would have existed a few years back. So this is really good. Every single city I went to in New Zealand had an Indian restaurant. Every single place I went, there were Indians around. I did not see any other national people buzzing so much in a place. Imagine 7-8 years back, I've been to Europe. And Europe has been infested with Indians for a long period of time. Spite of that, I didn't see so many Indian restaurants. Now people are very clear, what do I need to do to get Indians out there? So I think the aspiration is very clearly very high right there. Ambition is super high. This India is ready to raise faster than anybody else out there. I think we are all lucky to be part of this era and see this sort of transition. Yeah, aspiration is super high.
Totally agree with what you said. And this is really the change that we are seeing, and we are really lucky to be in this era, as you rightly said, where change is happening so fast. And there are so many new things that we are experiencing, which I think 10 years down, we would not have seen this change. Yes, absolutely. So, Dr. Pai, can I address another question to you? So, in this aspirational travel, the era of aspirational travel, the Gen Z and the Alpha travels, how are fintech companies contributing, or how fintech is becoming a part of meeting these aspirations for travel? Any thoughts on that, sir?
Let me tell you one thing. Fintech, Asians are called brainy people, and all large or Fortune 500 companies are engaging Asians for that new disruption, whatever you can call it. And based on whatever I could see, this fintech people who are there now in the market are all mostly startups. They are finding the gaps in the market. They are encashing it. They are making it the process very simpler, very easy to access. And if you see, India is a blessed nation. The economy always improves when there is road, its connectivity to road, air and water. But India is blessed with multiple things. India is blessed with multicultural, multi-cuisine, multi-traditions. So till now it is not showcased because it could not be. So fintech is one of the enablers which can bring in not only from the financial angles, but from a dashboard or a platform to showcase everything. If you go to Europe, if you go to any other places, one monument which they showcase and they talk such big about it. We have multiple. Each state has history behind it. I think we are in a right generation, if you ask me, to take this forward, and we have an edge over people. Because if you see the statistics, Indians are the 4th largest spend in travel, okay? We as an economy, we are already on the number 5. In 2027, we'll move to number 3. So everything, every natural force is helping us. We have a good PM on the center. The global are acknowledging us for whatever we do. I think if you ask, we are giving employment to most of the European and US companies. If you see, all aircrafts have booking are waitlisted for 3 years. The waiting period is 3 years. So I think tier 2, tier 3 cities, which has multiple airports now, if you see UP, it's blessed with 5 international airports. You see Tamil Nadu, it is having 3. Mumbai has going to have second.
Absolutely.
So I think all this is required for a overall healthy travel this thing. And we should not forget that almost 58% travel are domestic travels. Okay, so the spend is also there. So infrastructure has to build, and fintech company will always play a huge role for a good accessibility, good what do you call shortcut on various informations and ease to perform. That's what I think should be done.
Absolutely. So you really pointed out that the entire ecosystem around travel and aspirational travel is developing so much that, in this generation and era of EMIs, we see that, that a ticket cost is actually apportioned over EMIs. So this is another area where, which is going to create another, probably a segment, which is going to live on EMIs and travel on EMIs. So how good is it for our industry?
I personally believe that today's generation, they don't worry about I have to save and I have to buy a house or I have to. They want to experience what it is they want to live in today. So this whole fintech of holiday now, pay later, 2% interest loan for travel. I think all these things are playing a very, very big role. If I talk about a decade before, holidaying by taking a loan was because holiday was not necessary at that time. It was a luxury. But today, because the traveling has become a necessity, we have witnessed so much of growth in instant, loan sanctioning and, paying the holiday costs on the EMIs. And we really see that it's definitely going to grow and helping us for, growing our base as a market.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's absolutely. So as a TMC, Mr. Bali, how do you think fintech companies are contributing in?
So in corporate travel, basically the EMI concept is still not working because the corporates really need the payment. But what is fintech bringing onto the platform is a seamless transaction. Something which, in good old days, there were so many touch points before a transaction got over. What fintech brings is a seamless. The speed to market. People know that what they ask, they get. So there is kind of no delays in that. So that is something which is good. The fintech is also creating a huge information reservoir. So which also brings, as I said, the knowledge part. So travel, which is to large extent an experience, but the enabler of fintech can only fast track that. The other thing which is, I just wanted to add, in good old days, and I'm just giving an analogy, if my neighbor used to get a car, my kids used to say, Dad, I want to also have a car. The peer pressure, the society pressure. Today the pressure is different. My neighbors have gone abroad, so I need to go. So that famous, neighbors envy owners prize. So this is something which is happening. So these are the pressures which are being put. So it is aspiration, feasibility, accessibility, and me too. I want to be there. And he rightly said that Instagram, I want my photograph to be in the Instagram because I want to tell to my peers I was there. So, it's a combination, and I always believe that it's the economy and it is the purchasing power which fuels it.
I think this is absolutely something that your business is actually growing on. So, how would you like to share some thoughts on this?
Visa was the first company to introduce that concept, right? And the reason why it did was because it was all paper transactions between banks. It was like a monumental effort to reconcile and see that which bank has to pay how much to this person, making it easy and all of that. That's where it started, right? Over a period of time, how it has evolved into is I don't need to carry my cash, and that's what the credit card file as a system has started to enable, right? I don't need to carry so much of cash with me, I can just hold my credit card and then I can use it. And the network is built in such a way that you can seamlessly transact with any institution, not just from a bank to bank, but from any merchant to a bank to another merchant, right? So that's what this has brought in. In India, particularly, if you look at it, today around 8 to 8.5 crore is the number of people who hold the credit card. Compared to the kind of population we have, it's 140 crore, right? It's peanuts, right? So what fintech is able to do, which the traditional banks have not been able to do, is you need a lot of data to understand who to extend the credit to, who you should not extend the credit to. So what the data is enabling you is this particular customer is buying this particular product, this particular brand, and the transaction numbers in a year are these many. So I know that when I start building a book about this customer, I can offer this credit. So I tie up with the bank and then go and offer this credit to the customer. So what we have been able to do is offer credit to consumers who never had credit cards. So that is what is changing now through the digital world. The physical world will never be able to do that, right? Because of that sort of data doesn't exist. So as this expands, the number of people who will be transacting for the first time on e-commerce or in any travel sort of platform will be on an EMI itself, because they know I'm going to get a credit and I can pay it maybe after 20 days, 45 days, and all that. So we are at this point of time seeing already early double-digit adoption, and we believe the potential is to touch 30 to 40% of the entire transaction can come from EMI, and that goes in from our understanding of how the e-commerce is worked out. If you look at it, somebody is buying a TV, AC, refrigerator, smartphone, 4 out of 10 transactions are happening on a credit, right? And travel is, if not same, it's higher transaction value when compared to these categories. So why wouldn't it happen on Twitter? It's a no-brainer. So we need to bring it very seamless, make the KYC process very transparent and very easier for the customer, at the same time holding the overall regulatory requirements in the country, which is super critical. That will expand the consumerism very differently.
I think we've had some real good words of wisdom here in this discussion today. So much has come out in this discussion, and we really thank each of you for this. But just a last closing point now. So, of course, we've covered it all, but maybe half a minute or 1 minute from each of you to wind up the session. So, what are your views by the turn of the decade? What kind of aspirations would the international travelers still have? So, 1 decade from now, how do you see this industry growing in terms of aspirational travel? So 1 minute from each of you would really be helpful.
I think what I believe is the annual holiday concept is going to, change. The holiday is going to become, maybe a monthly or a quarterly. It may not be the international, but within India, within state, within city, and of course the outbound. So the whole definition, duration, and the periodicity of the holiday is going to change, because it's not just going to be a one annual holiday, but it's going to be a holiday is going to become a necessity with the kind of, the infrastructure change, the kind of technology and, the opportunities that are coming up. So I strongly believe that the next decade is going to be minimum 3 to 4 holidays for every individual.
So what Rajiv, you are trying to say is that we are looking at the area where the corporates will give 14 months salary instead of 12 months.
Absolutely, because
15 months for travel.
when you have a long when you have a long weekends, earlier it was always a challenge about visa, flight connectivity, so on and so forth. But with this change of accessibility, various options, the short haul or within domestic, pilgrimages, visits to Ayodhya is going to become you have a weekend, you want to go there, experience. The new circuit, golden circuit is going to get established. So you're not going to get stuck with one annual holiday. It's going to be holiday across the year, I believe.
I need to add something different. First of all, I think Air India has done their homework. The very fact they have ordered 500 planes itself says a lot that you have done the research. And I always believe any government, any country where the economy goes up, where the desires were always there, where there is a 1.4 billion people and the economy is growing, purchasing power is growing, people are going global and they want to showcase themselves. Our passport is getting better, infrastructure is getting better. The only recipe I can say that the travel is going to boom because the business will grow, more countries will deal with India, our exports will grow, and government is making it third largest economy. What more you want? So all the best, and I think you guys have done the best thing of investing because you knew India is going to grow multifold.
As you rightly said, the Indian passport is going to become more and more valuable. And that's another very, very added thing for us Indians. Mr. Arpin, a few words from you to close this.
Yeah, I think the India affluence is going up today, more than $10,000 per capita. If you look at it, it's 60 million. By 2030, it's expected to hit 100 million. There are not many countries who have so many people who have that sort of wealth. India has always been called as like laggards with respect to per capita income. That is going to change. Travel intent is changing, the connectivity is coming in, and the government support is amazing. And players like Air India is right there, and I'm also supportive with the brand color that I'm wearing today, which is depicting Air India. So I think that's the way the overall tailwind is going to be. We are also going to be so lucky to see this happening in front of our eyes. And if we don't run, we have a lot to lose. So I think everybody has to make this happen. And maybe in 7-8 years, we all will be looking back this time and say that we've been part of this growth journey across between all of us. Yeah.
A few words from you.
If you ask me next 1 decade, you take all the verticals, whether it is corporate travel, whether it's MICE, or it's leisure, or something else which will come in. Earlier, travel was not a necessity. Now it's become a necessity. Like Instagram, people want to showcase. There is easy funding. There's if you take a good example, UPI and Paytm during a meltdown, it saved our economy because they brought many road companies on the mainstream of opening and bank account. Okay, so that indirectly small drops have contributed to the economy. If you take RT-PCR, the online system, which was not there in US. So all these things, small drops are adding to it, and I'm feeling new destinations are coming up. Like Ayodhya has come up, Shirdi has come up, it is getting connected to airfields. So are neighboring countries like Azerbaijan and all these new places are coming. So travel will boost and you require aircraft to fly in. And you did the right thing. I think so. Even if you don't utilize them, you can trade for that aircraft with someone else. You will make money.
We want it for ourselves, Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kishan.
I think this has been an extremely interesting discussion. Thank you so much for being here today, for spending this time with us, for being a part of this discussion. We're extremely grateful for each of you to be here today. Thank you so much.